So the next concept that we are going to talk about is the rotation theorem. Okay. Now, wait a minute. Didn't we do this when we were doing the multiplication of complex number? Yes, that was a special case of this. So basically, we are going into more generic version of it. Okay. So what is this rotation theorem? Many times there are certain books that will call it as the Coney rotation formula. This topic name is called the Coney rotation formula. Okay. Coney rotation formula. Now see, let me just show you a simple setup first of all. Let's say this is our Argand plane. Okay. This is our Argand plane. And on this Argand plane, there are three complex numbers. Let me call it as Z1, Z2, and let's say Z3. Okay, some three complex numbers I took up. Okay, now they may be collinear also. They may be collinear also. So basically, I've taken a very generic case. Okay, so if these three complex numbers are such that this angle that I am showing right now on your screen, if this angle is theta, okay, then there is a formula which relates Z1, Z2, Z3 and theta with each other, and that formula is okay. Now you must be wondering, Ayyo, from where does this formula come? What is the proof for this formula? Okay, so let us first prove it, and then we'll learn how to apply it. See, if I ask you, what is this complex number Z2 minus Z1? Can you express this in an Euler form? Okay, can you express this in an Euler form? So we'll say, okay, I can write it as mod of Z2 minus Z1. Okay, e to the power I into argument of Z2 minus Z1. Now remember, when I was dealing with the concept of argument in the initial part of the complex number classes, I told you, in order to know what is the argument of one complex number minus another complex number, imagine that there is a vector whose initial point is Z1 and final point is Z2. So imagine that this is a vector like this. Initial point is Z1, this is the initial point, and this is the final point. You can say terminal point, whatever. Okay. So imagine that there is a vector going from Z1 to Z2 like this. Now, what is the angle that this vector makes with the positive real Z axis? That angle is your argument of that particular, Z2 minus Z1. So let's say if you extend this backward, tuck, 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 tuck. Let's say this angle is alpha. Okay. So this will become alpha over here. Let me remove this. It is coming in the way of, you go here, yeah. Right? Is this clear to everybody? Anybody who has a doubt in this itself, let me know right now. Actually, there shouldn't be any, because if you have, that means you have not solved the previous assignments properly. Okay. Sir, by saying this, you have stopped any doubt coming from our side. Anyways, similarly, if I say Z3 minus Z1, if I write this in the Euler form, can I write it like this? Now again, in order to know the argument, you consider that there is a vector going from Z1 to Z3, pull it back. Okay. The angle that it makes with this, let's say I call it as beta, then that beta would be your argument. Right? I'm sure all of you are fine with these two statements. Correct? Now, let us do 2 divided by 1. If you do 2 divided by 1, you will end up getting Z3 minus Z1 by Z2 minus Z1. So I'm basically dividing the left hand side terms. And on the right hand side, I get mod Z3 minus Z1 by mod Z2 minus Z1. Okay. E to the power I beta minus alpha. Now we all know that beta minus alpha would be actually this angle, and this angle is also theta. So this term can be replaced with a theta, which is nothing but mod z3 minus z1 by mod z2 minus z1 e to the power I theta. And there you go. This proves the given formula that we have written over here. Is that fine? Is that fine? Okay. Any question with respect to this? Now, if you open your books, you'll see another version of the formula. There's another version of the formula. In fact, it is not another version. It is just, the same thing written in a slightly different way. They may write it like this: z2 minus z1 by z3 minus z1 equal to mod z2 minus z1 by mod z3 minus z1 e to the power minus I theta. Guys, let me tell you, this is a same thing as what you have written. You have just reciprocated both sides of the terms. So you have reciprocated this and you have reciprocated this. So when you reciprocate it, e to the power I theta will automatically become e to the power minus I theta. Okay. Now, when you see these two versions in your textbooks that you are referring to, it confuses you. Many times I have got calls in the midnight and say, sir, you told e to the power I theta. Book is saying e to the power minus I theta. Which one to follow, sir? Right? See, actually both are the same thing. It's just that their way of writing is different. Now, in order to help students remember whether to use theta or minus theta, I have devised a mechanism which I used to follow when I was a student, and I always recommend this to others as well. See, whether you want to do this or whether you want to do this, that depends upon what is the direction that you have assigned to theta. Okay. So this is a small thing that I would like to share. This is a small trick I would like to share. Trick, no, I would call it as a mechanism. Okay, one small mechanism I would like to share. See, normally you will not be given any angle. Sorry, you will not be given any direction. So you will be given these three complex numbers. Okay, and you would know the angle between them. So what do I do is I assign some random direction to theta. That is up to you, right? What direction you want to assign? Let's say I assign anti-clockwise direction. Okay, it is up to me to assign a direction. In reality, there is no direction to that. Okay, I am giving it a direction. Okay, so normally what I do in order to remember the formula, I first write down the two complex numbers which are attached to the arrowhead of this angle, keeping this point, which I will refer as a pivot point. Why I'm calling it as a pivot? It is because it is appearing that as if I'm rotating it about that point. Right? You see the screen, I'm showing it on the camera. As if you're rotating it like this. Okay, about that pivot point. Okay, something like a hinge point. Right? So I always write down the two complex numbers which are linked to this arrowhead first, keeping the pivot point as the second point. So Z3 minus Z1. So pivot point is the second. Okay, like this. Then similarly, the two complex numbers which are linked to the tail of the arrow, keeping the pivot as the second. Then I write the modulus of these two simply over here that you would have observed from the formula itself. Okay. Then e to the power I, if I have taken anti-clockwise, I would write a theta. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now let's say somebody wants to assign this angle a clockwise direction. Let's say, Aditya says, okay, let me take clockwise, right? So what Aditya will do is, he will first write Z2 minus Z1, right? And then the tail is Z3 minus Z1. And then again, modulus of these two. And then since he has taken clockwise, he will write minus I theta. Right? So ultimately, both have written the same things only, but his way of writing is different from mine. So that depends upon your way of attacking the problem. Okay, but both are essentially the same formula. Now, can this be generalized even further? Let's see. First copy this down, then I'll go to the next page. Done. One thing I would like to highlight over here is that when you're looking at it, never forget the fact that this is as good as saying that, let me move my camera from it. This is as good as saying that argument of z3 minus z1 by z2 minus z1 is actually theta. Don't forget, after all, this is a complex number. At the end of the day, this is a complex number, right? Whose modulus is this and argument is this. Got the point? Clear? Okay. Similarly, this can be written as argument of z2 minus z1 by z3 minus z1 as minus theta. Okay, so at the end of the day, this is a complex number whose modulus is this and argument is minus theta. Okay, so whenever you see these kind of expressions coming up in any of your questions, immediately it should strike to you, oh, they are referring to Coney rotation formula somehow. Okay, now I will generalize this even further. So let's say if you have four complex numbers like this, and let me tell you, these concepts are not very well explained in your normal JEE books, right? A lot of things that you're going to learn in this class, you will not find them in many textbooks. Okay, so let's listen to this very, very carefully. So let's say there are four complex numbers, Z1, let's say Z2, and let's say there is a Z4 and there is a Z3. I'm just taking a random four, oh, sorry, like this. Okay. See, the same concept, I can also write it like this. Z2, sorry, Z4 minus Z3 by Z2 minus Z1 is mod Z4 minus Z3 mod Z2 minus Z1 e to the power I theta, where theta here is, if you extend this backward and if you extend this backward, this is your angle theta. Okay, so they did not have the same pivot point as what we had discussed in this case, right? So I'm making it even more general, more generic, right? So now, how does this come? Very simple. Again, if I ask you, what is Z2 minus Z1? You will say in the Euler form, it is Z2 minus Z1 mod e to the power I. Now, what is going to be the argument of this? So imagine as if there is a vector starting from Z2 and going, starting from Z1 and going to Z2. If you extend this backward, let's say this is your alpha, okay? And similarly, Z4 minus Z3. That means you imagine as if there is a vector going from Z3 to Z4. So if you extend this backward, let's say this is going to be beta. So I can write it as mod Z4 minus Z3 to the power I beta. So if you again divide 2 by 1, what do you get? You get the same thing as what you have written over here. So Z4 minus Z3 by Z2 minus Z1 is mod Z4 minus Z3 by mod Z2 minus Z1 e to the power I theta. Is this clear? Is this concept clear or not? Any questions? Okay, so let's take a question on this. Oh, yes, please copy this down. Let me know once you're done so that we can go to the next page. Done, Anurag. Gayatri, done. Good. Great. Let's go on to the next. Let's begin with a question. Question is, if Z1, Z2, Z3 are the vertices of an equilateral triangle, then prove that Z1 square, Z2 square, Z3 square is equal to Z1, Z2, Z2, Z3, Z1, Z3. This is actually an important property also. Okay, important result also. So if you can remember it, well and good, because this is used in many of the concepts. So if Z1, Z2, Z3 are the vertices of an equilateral triangle, prove that Z1 square plus Z2 square plus Z3 square is Z1, Z2, Z2, Z3, Z3, Z1, Z3. Okay, any idea how to do this? Let me make the diagram first. Okay, now when you look at this diagram, the first feeling that you would get is, can I apply Koni at a vertex, at any vertex of my choice? Can I apply Koni? Okay, now I would request somebody to choose a vertex A, B, C. Which vertex you want to choose? Anyone? Okay, Gayatri says vertex B, so she was the first one, so let me honor her this thing. So Gayatri says vertex B. Okay, now vertex B, this angle is 60 degrees, pi by 3. Okay, now since Gayatri has chosen this, Gayatri, do you want to give me a direction that you want to assign to this angle? It's your call. Clockwise or anti-clockwise? Anti-clockwise. Okay, so Gayatri has chosen anti-clockwise, right? Normally I have to give a direction to it so that I can write my Koni rotation formula. So treating this as my pivot point, if I write my Koni rotation formula, it will be what? Tell me. So first, whatever are the two complex numbers on the head of the arrow, keeping the pivot as the second one. So Z1 minus Z2. So pivot will always be the second. By the two complex number on the tail, Z3 minus Z2, mod of these two quantities. And since Gayatri has chosen an anti-clockwise direction, I will write I pi by 3 plus pi by 3. Okay. Is this fine? Now, one more thing I would like to highlight over here. You're dealing with an equilateral triangle. Correct. So this thing that you have seen on your right hand side, this is actually the length of AB. Do you remember mod Z1 minus Z2 gives you the distance between Z1 and Z2? So this is the length AB. This is the length BC. Correct? Aren't they equal because it's an equilateral triangle? So can I just cancel them and write just 1 e to the power I pi by 3 or just e to the power I pi by 3? Correct? Let me call this as 1. Okay. Now, choose one more vertex. Anybody. So Vaibhav chooses A. Okay, fine. So I choose this as my another pivot. This angle is pi by 3. Vaibhav, choose the direction to the angle. Clockwise. Okay. So Vaibhav has chosen clockwise direction. Okay. Let us write Koni at A. So this was Koni formula at B. And now Vaibhav has chosen A, so we will write Koni at A. Okay. Koni, I mean, I'm just using a shortcut. So I'm using Koni rotation formula at A. So what will I write? Tell me, everybody. Everybody in your mind, speak out. What will you write? So first arrowhead. This is a pivot point. So it will be Z2 minus Z1. Correct. Arrow tail Z3 minus Z1. And again, mod of these two quantities, which you can easily write. Now, since Vaibhav has chosen a clockwise direction, he will write minus pi by 3, e to the power minus I pi by 3. And again, as you know, these two will be equal because it's an equilateral triangle. So there you go. This gives me my second equation. Okay. Now what I will do is I will multiply 1 and 2. I will multiply 1 and 2. So if you multiply the left hand sides, you get Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2 times Z2 minus Z1 by Z3 minus Z1. And this term multiplies to this term to give you a 1. Right? So this will give you a 1. Right? Because they are reciprocals of each other. Okay. So let's simplify this. So can I write this into this as minus Z1 minus Z2 square? And denominators, I will take it to the other side, which is Z3 minus Z2 times Z3 minus Z1. Okay. So let us square this. So this will be, okay, let me open the brackets without much waste of time. So minus Z1 square minus Z2 square plus 2Z1 Z2. And this will become Z3 square minus Z1 Z3 minus Z2 Z3 plus Z1 Z2. Okay. So I think one of this will get cancelled with this. Bring these two terms to the right side and bring these two terms to the left side. So when you do that, the result will be there in front of you. Hence proved. Right? So this is how we can apply Koni. Now this is what you're seeing is a very, you can say basic applications of Koni. You'll see a lot of very interesting questions which can be solved if you know your Koni geometrical interpretation very well. Koni. Is it fine? Can you take another question? So let me copy this. Done? Gayatri? Shreyas? What if we take it as anti-clockwise, right? Now, good question. Shreyas is saying, what if I take an anti-clockwise? Then Shreyas, I would equate it. So I'm smart enough to do both the activities. If you had got e to the power I pi by 3, I would have equated the left hand side of these expressions, right? So I would change my strategy had you taken anti-clockwise. Okay. It's like a game of chess. First, I will let you, take a call. Then I will take a call accordingly. Game theory. Yes or no? Can we go to the next slide? Okay. So in a similar way, I would like you to solve this question. Let's say there is a right angle isosceles triangle with right angle at C, and Z1, Z2, Z3 are basically the vertices of these complex number for the vertices of this triangle. Okay. Prove that Z1 minus Z2 whole square is twice of Z1 minus Z3 times Z3 minus Z2. Again, these type of questions can always be objectified. So don't be under the impression that they will not be asked in JEE just because it's the prove that question. The question can always be framed like this. Then which of the following relations is correct between Z1, Z2, Z3? Okay, so be prepared for such kind of questions. This is an isosceles right angle triangle. I would again like to repeat that. So keep that into your consideration while you're solving it. Got it, Pranav. Well done. Good. Very good. Okay. Let us apply Koni at A and B. Okay, let's apply Koni at A and B. This is 45 degrees. This is also 45 degrees. Okay. Now I will choose a direction. Let's choose clockwise here. And let's choose anti-clockwise here. Okay. Now if I write Koni at A. Koni at A. Since I've chosen a clockwise direction. Okay. First of all, I will have to use minus pi by 4. That is fine. Now, the rule was always write down the two complex number on the tip or the arrowhead of the angle direction that you have assigned to it. So it will be Z2 minus Z1 by Z3 minus Z1 mod Z2 minus Z1 by mod Z3 minus Z1 e to the power I minus pi by 4. Okay. Now, one small thing I would like to add on here, if this is x, then this is root 2x. So mod Z2 minus Z1 and mod Z3 minus Z2 is like saying root 2x by x. So that will actually give you root 2 e to the power minus I pi by 4. Okay. Let's call this as 1. Oh, sorry. Let's call this as 1. Okay. Similarly, if I apply Koni at B, what will I write? Koni at B, what will I write? I will write Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2 equal to again root 2 e to the power I pi by 4. Okay, let's say I call it 2. Now, in order to eliminate e to the power I pi by 4, I will multiply 1 and 2. Okay, so if you multiply 1 and 2, you will get Z2 minus Z1 by Z3 minus Z1 times Z1 minus Z2, Z3 minus Z2 is equal to 2. Root 2 will become a 2. E to the power I pi by 4, e to the power minus I pi by 4 will cancel each other out. Now, if you see this, it is actually Z1 minus Z2 whole square with a negative sign equal to 2Z3 minus Z1, Z3 minus Z2. So what I'm going to do is, since the expression wants me to have no negative sign here, you can just flip the position of these two. So you can make it Z1, Z1, and this is Z3, Z1, this is Z3, and do away with this negative sign. Okay, so I think this is what they wanted us to prove, hence proved. Okay, is this understood? Any questions, any concerns? Right? So we'll take few more questions which will actually give you a better insight on how Kony can be useful in solving other type of questions. Let's take this one. Mm. There used to be a good question here. I don't know where it is gone. Just 1 second, guys. I think I have lost the question or something. Ah, I would have written the question in the same time. Sorry for that confusion. Okay, so this is the question. Question is, if Z1 is ten plus six I, Z2 is 4 plus 6I. Okay. And there is a complex number Z, and Z is a complex number that satisfies argument of Z minus Z1 by Z minus Z2 is equal to pi by 4. Okay. Then prove that mod of Z minus 7 minus 9I is equal to 3 root 2. Prove that mod of Z minus 7 minus 9I is equal to 3 root 2. Now, anybody wants to try it, or should I help you out with this question? Do you want to try this out? Okay, okay. Try it out. I'll give you some time. Think about it. It's a very beautiful question. I mean, this will open up a lot of, I know, concepts related to a lot of other things. Mod, argument, Kony, all those things will be tested over here. Very good, Gayatri. Yes. Z moves on a circle. In fact, you can say on an arc of a circle. Absolutely good. Okay, guys and girls, please pay attention to this. This is a very interesting and very good question, actually. See, first of all, let's try to sketch this scenario on the Argand plane. So you have Z1 and Z2 given to you. Z1 is 10, 6. 10, 6 is here. Let's say. And Z2 is 4, 6. Okay, so 4, 6, somewhere over here. Okay, so this is your Z1, this is your Z2. Correct? Now there is some complex number Z. I don't know where is that complex number, but it somehow satisfies this condition. Correct? So let's say if I take an arbitrary position like this Z. Okay. Then it satisfies this condition. Now, if you read this in a slightly different angle, you can read it like this: Z1 minus Z, Z2 minus Z. Basically, I've flipped the position of numerator and denominator terms. It doesn't make a difference to my entire expression. It is like taking a negative sign common from both numerator and denominator and cancelling it out. Now, when you see this, it gives you a feeling that, oh, some kind of rotation is happening with the pivot at Z. Okay, so this gives you an idea that there is a rotation with the pivot at Z. Correct. So let me make a simple angle at Z. Okay. Now here, be careful. Z1 minus Z is on the top. That means your arrow head is on this. So your tail will be on this, obviously. Correct. Now, one question to be asked here is this angle anti-clockwise because this is positive? This is positive. So is this angle anti-clockwise? Thankfully, yes. Now, what if it was not anti-clockwise? Then what would you do? Then obviously Z has to be below. Correct? So had it been, let's say, not anti-clockwise, then your Z has to be below. And that will make a difference to you solving the question. Please note that. Not probably in this, but even in this it will make a difference. But be aware that whether they are saying pi by 4 or minus pi by 4, because your direction will change in that case. Are you getting my point here? Since it is positive, it means anti-clockwise. So I should have got an anti-clockwise when I choose the arrowhead on Z1, Z2 connect or Z1, Z connect. And the tail should be on the Z, Z2 connect. Okay. Thankfully, everything is as per the given diagram. Else I had to draw it down. Got the point? Okay. And this angle is pi by 4 as per the question. Okay. Now Z is a moving point. It's a moving point which always satisfies this condition. That means this angle is always pi by 4. So how should Z move such that this angle is always pi by 4? You will say, sir, it should move on the arc of a circle whose chord is Z1, Z2. Correct? So you will say it should move on the arc of a circle. Let me draw it like this. I may not be very accurate in my positioning, but I will. Yeah. Sorry, I have to draw it again. क्या सर आपको सर्कल बनाने में इतना टाइम लगता है? क्या करते हैं आप? Yes. Yeah, correct. So guys, let me tell you one thing. It is going to move on the part of a circle, not the complete circle. That means it can't move below. Because if it moves below, then it will become minus pi by 4. I would like to bring this to your notice. So if you are trying to make it move below, this will be minus pi by 4. How? Let me show you. Let's say I regain this point back. Okay. Let's say if your Z was here. Okay. And let's say you had made a connect from this. Okay. So first your arrowhead should be on your connect of Z1 and Z because that is there on the numerator. Correct. Now you can see for yourself, this is a clockwise angle. So this has to be minus pi by 4. It cannot be plus pi by 4. And because it is plus pi by 4, my z will not come down the arc. It will always remain on the top part of the arc. So this point would be, this path would not be taken by z. Are you getting my point? And to be more specific, even it cannot achieve z1 and z2 also, because if z becomes z1, it will become argument 0, and argument 0 is undefined. You cannot say argument 0 is pi by 4. Are you getting my point? It cannot be even z2 because it will become undefined expression itself. So that's why holes have been punched over here, right? So your z can only move on this blue arc, but cannot come at z1 and z2 locations, right? Now, let us look into the motive of the question setter. The question setter basically is asking me to prove this. Now, when you look at it, the first thought that comes in your mind is of this. Basically, it says that it's a circle of center, or with center z1 and radius r, right? So basically the question setter wants to ask you, where is the center of this arc, right? Where is the center of this arc, and what is the radius of this arc? Are you getting my point? So geometrically it comes out so beautifully that it'll explain so many concepts to you. Okay, now in order to know the center, we'll apply our geometry. Trigonometry, geometry is what I am going to use. Okay, that is going to help me. So somehow I have to show the examiner that the center is at 7,9. Let's check. See, first of all, we all know that center of any circle lies along the perpendicular bisector of a chord, right? So midpoint of this two is 7,6. So if you go up, this will be some 7, let's say y, right? Now I have to find my y. How will I find my y? Now all of you please pay attention. Let me connect. Why did I choose this color? I should have chosen this thing. Yeah. Let me connect this to this. Okay. Do you all realize that this is going to be a right angled? Because this is 45 degrees. So angle subtended at the center should be 90 degree. Correct? Right? Now, if this is 90 degree, can I say this is 45 degrees? And this will also be 45 degrees because this is 90 degree. So can I say this is going to be an isosceles right angle triangle? What I'm showing with the gray. All of you please watch the gray triangle which I am showing is an isosceles right angle triangle. So if this distance is 3, can I say this distance will also be 3? Okay. So from 7,6, if you go 3 up, which point will you land upon? 7,9, right? That's why this thing that you see is actually something like this. So your center is at 7,9, correct? And having done that, it is very easy to figure out that this radius would be 3 root 2. So this radius is 3 root 2. Done, proved. There could not be any easier way to prove this than whatever we have done. This basically, I'm purely using my geometrical interpretation of whatever operations I have learned, whether it is modulus, whether it is argument, whether it is coni, all those things have come into picture. This is just a beautiful problem. Any questions? Any questions? Any concerns? If Z1 and Z2 were not parallel to the x-axis, then you have to consider a line. You have to consider a perpendicular bisector line, and then you choose a center on it. Okay, and then use the distance formula and equate it. So that's what Pranav was suggesting. You choose 7, y and use the fact that its distance from 4, 6 and 10, 6 are equal. That will give you the unknown thing. Sir, would it be a point in that case? I didn't get you. Anyway, center is a point only, no, Aditya? Yes, Hariharan, you are free to use coordinate geometry fundamentals. That's why I told you, this is a beautiful chapter which incorporates complex numbers, trigonometry, coordinate geometry, vectors, whatever. Aditya, I'm not getting your question. Can you unmute yourself and talk if at all you want to clarify yourself? See what I'm trying to say. So Aditya, your question, if I have understood correctly, it is, let's say if your circle was like this. Let me just draw it. So let's say these 2 points were given and you wanted to find the circle, right? Let's say A, B were given to you and you wanted to find the center. That's what your question is, right? Okay. So when you want to find such a line, first of all, can you get the midpoint here? Do you know the slope here? Can you get this equation here? Correct? So let's say the equation comes out hypothetically. I'm just taking a hypothetical case. 2x minus y equal to 3. Let's say. Okay. Then what I will do, I will choose a point on this like this. T comma 2t minus 3. Okay. So what I will do, I'll put x as t. So y will automatically become 2t minus 3. And then I'll say the distance of t comma 2t minus 3 from A and B should be equal. One equation, one unknown, get your t. Okay. Now you have to be very careful because in this case, two t's will come out. One will be lying over here and one will be lying over here. Are you getting my point? So from your idea of these points, you should know that your origin and this point should lie on the same side of AB. Correct? Could you explain the 45-degree part? Okay. This 45 degree or this 45 degree? This 45 degrees from the question only. Okay. Now why this is 45 degrees? Because Madhav, the angle subtended at the center is always double this angle. So if this is theta, this is 2 theta, no? So if this is 45, this is 90. If I drop a perpendicular, then that 90 will be cut into 50-50, no? 45-45. 50-50 means 50 is to 50. 1 is to 1. That's why. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. And okay, yeah. Every point will be at equidistance. So basically, you have to use the fact that this distance should be equal to this distance. Very good point, Hariharan. So Hariharan has a very valid point to make. That I forgot that I did not know the radius actually. I did not know the radius actually. So what I can do is, I can use the fact that this length will be equal to this length because this is going to be 45 degrees. Correct? So at least I know this length because I know the length of the chord. So I can use the distance formula and equate it to the length of the chord. Right? So I can use the distance of the point from this line and equate it to the half the length of the chord. Can I use that? Okay. Good. So I think one more problem should suffice this concept and then we can move on because we have a lot of grounds to cover. So let's do this question. Let's say there is an isosceles triangle which is formed by OZ1, Z2 such that this angle is 2 pi by 3. Okay. So this is an isosceles triangle, okay, formed by OZ1, Z2 such that this angle is 2 pi by 3. Prove that Z1 square plus Z2 square plus Z1, Z2 is equal to 0. Prove that Z1 square plus Z2 square plus Z1, Z2 is equal to 0. Just write done once you're done with it. Z1 square, Z2 square plus Z1, Z2 is equal to 0. Again, Vaibhav, you should not ask that question. Did I ever put a direction to the angle ever? Initially, no, right? In order to apply Koni, I assign it a direction, and that is your call. That is your call. Whether you want to take clockwise, anti-clockwise, आपके ऊपर है. Correct? Angle itself, whatever I'm stating, I'm not assigning any direction to it. So you should not ask this question at all whether it's clockwise angle or anti-clockwise. Clockwise, anti-clockwise is something which you put to it, you assign to it in order to solve the question. So when the angle is given, they'll just give you the magnitude. Now, according to clockwise, anti-clockwise direction that you choose, your Koni expression is going to be formed. है ना? Yes, this is origin. This is origin. 0. You can say 0 complex number. Anybody could do it? Okay, so let us assign some direction, random direction. I'll put anti-clockwise. Okay, and if I write Koni about origin, so let's say I take this as a pivot point. Okay, very good, Pranav. So I can write Z2 minus 0 by Z1 minus 0 mod Z2 minus 0 mod Z1 minus 0 e to the power I 2 pi by 3. Correct? Now, mod Z1, mod Z2, they're equal because this length is equal, right? So mod Z1 and mod Z2 are equal. Right? What is mod? Mod is nothing but the distance of that complex number from the origin, and they're equal as per the given question. So I can just say Z2 by Z1 is e to the power I 2 pi by 3. Correct? Now e to the power I 2 pi by 3, if you remember, it is actually omega. I hope you remember this. Correct? Don't forget. E to the power I 2 pi by 3 is one of your cube roots of unity. So omega. Correct? So can I say if I cube it, I'll get omega cube, and omega cube is known to be 1. That means Z2 cube is equal to Z1 cube, which means Z2 cube minus Z1 cube is equal to 0. That means Z2 minus Z1, Z2 square plus Z1 Z2 plus Z1 square is equal to 0. Correct? Now, since Z2 and Z1 are not equal, else if they're equal, then the triangle would not get formed. So the only thing possible is Z2 square, or you can say Z1 square, Z2 square plus Z1, Z2 is equal to 0, hence proved. Is it clear? Is this clear? Any questions? Any questions? Any concerns? Okay. All right. So with this, we stop the Koni also. In fact, we'll revisit it if at all required, because it is very useful concept. It is basically a building block of many things that we are going to learn.